George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie Wolves is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
Hello everyone, sorry lads I couldn't be there tonight. I've got a prior engagement. I just thought I'd put in a little bit of a clip talking about the news that broke about Everton yesterday afternoon that I'm sure you're all aware of and I've discussed at detail and just my thoughts on it. It's a really strange situation because it's the first sign of optimism that I can possibly think of in quite a long time. I appreciate the deal hasn't gone through yet. This is all an agreement. He's still got to pass the Premier League, the Financial Conduct Authority, all these different people, and the signs are showing that that's going to be a fairly simple process to go through, which is great. Like anything, it is that Ralph Hasenhüttl meme where he celebrates a goal and then immediately is like, no, hang on, calm. And there is that feeling around it where I'm sort of thinking, this is great, this is a real positive change, but as always, let's be cautious. The Freaking Group have done good things over in Rome. I've also done some interesting things, some things that might piss off the fans a little bit in comparison to what they might have wanted to have done. I don't quite know. And how they're going to deal with Everton, having two big clubs on, in that remit is going to be interesting. Who they're going to take more priority over. They've said yesterday that both clubs will be equal, and I hope that is the case. I think for Everton financially, it's a huge, huge deal if it goes through. The debt it will wipe out in particular. The monthly payments we were making to parties who had loaned us money, ridiculous interest fees. It was really strangling the club financially. And this hopefully is going to be a bit of a clean slate. As to what happens with the likes of Sean Dyche, I don't know. I honestly don't know. It's a really interesting situation. His contract's due up end of the season. Same with Kevin Thirlwell. Whether they'll come in and just say, look, no, we'll have a fresh start coming in next summer with the new stadium, etc. It's going to be a really interesting scenario. And the other question is if it all does go through, we'll look back on this and we might do a pod, me and Jimmy in particular, of what is Farhad Moshiri's legacy. It's a really strange one to look at because I've never seen someone so universally disliked leave a club actually in not a terrible position. Financially, we aren't great. Of course, we're not. But there's a new stadium that's opening next summer. It's got a huge opportunity, as we've all said before. And you're learning very quickly that he's not going to make any money from this sale. He's barely taking anything out of it. He's going to lose, whatever he's put in. He's put a lot of money into the football club, and it's a real shame. I kind of feel for him that the amount of money he's put in, he's not going to see any of it back. But at the same time, it was spent so poorly. It's just a strange, weird legacy that we can look back on, where I can thank him for all he's done in terms of off the pitch, in terms of the ground, but on the pitch it's just been a managed decline, and that is a very strange legacy to give. But it's great news. It's great news for the football club if it all goes through, and I really hope it does go through. We need stability. We need now a plan. Whether it's 5 years, you just need a manager to come in maybe next summer if that's what the Freakins want to do. If they decide to go earlier and it's in January, fair enough. But ultimately, I'm happy with it, providing it all gets cleared by the Premier League, which, knowing Everton's history with the Premier League, is not always cut and dry. But hopefully, we'll see something go through. Cheers, lads.
Speaking about bashing football-related things, we'll bring it back to obviously the scrapping of the FA Cup replays and the knock-on effect. Greg, I'm sure you'll have an opinion on this. Is the National League trophy that's been introduced midway through a season for reasons.
Yeah, when I first heard that it was happening, I wasn't too keen on the idea. But when Rochdale put out a statement about it, I sort of understood why it could work in our favour. So I can briefly skim through the statement that Rochdale put out. So it was basically, as supporters, you will have seen yesterday's announcement. Rochdale AFC will take part in the inaugural National League Cup competition this season. It's fair to say, as expected, the competition announcement has received a very mixed reaction, and we want to make it clear our reasons behind the decision to take part. The first point to make is that if either a fairer financial distribution model was in place or a proper football pyramid of 3 up, 3 down between the EFL and National League, we may not have chose to take part in the competition, but concentrate fully on a promotion push for one of the 3 places. Unfortunately, the Premier League, EFL and National League have been unable to sort this out between themselves, and it is clubs like ourselves that are suffering financially because of this. We hope the proposed football regulator can intervene and force a settlement before another club goes out of business. As we nearly did, yes, that's right, as we nearly did earlier this year. We're not in a position, as we try to run our club sustainably as possible, to turn down welcome income. This is what this competition offers, basically. We recognise that this is at least some income, which is being distributed further down the pyramid. The competition was first proposed in the summer, and the National League fully consulted with the club. We raised concerns about the costs of hosting these fixtures even, and all the concerns were addressed by the National League and the Premier League, and an acceptable financial proposition was agreed. We believe the introduction of this competition is in no way linked to the scrapping of the FA Cup replays. Well, I'm not too sure about that. Rochdale has publicly stated, following extensive supporters' feedback, that we are opposed to the scrapping of FA Cup replays. We have no say on this and have made our position clear to both the FA and the National League on the matter. So basically, I think we want to be able to give some of our young players a chance to play, if that makes sense, which we could have done in the Papa John's Trophy and the League Cup and the FA Cup. We would have been able to have spread the squad evenly in terms of everyone gets a game, or you would like to think so. When we were in League 2 even, that's what we were able to do. We were able to play some of them, the Papa Johns that were coming up from the academy, the YTS, they were getting games, and then they were getting a flow of games because we knew it were a group stage in the Papa Johns. They were getting games, and then that would push them on into the first team eventually. Like the likes of like Luke Matheson and Aaron Morley, that's what they did. And maybe like years ago, Joe Bunny, we might have done it with him. But I think we're seeing this as an opportunity to be able to do that now. I think we've got a lot of fans have got gripes from other clubs about this, but it is because we only have the league and there is another cup as well. But I see it as an opportunity to, if we can play the kids and get them game time, and somehow make a little bit of money, then I'm for it now. But I did, as Rochdale said, I did have a few iffy questions about it initially. I don't know what your thoughts are, any of you guys, of this new one. That's is it a bit too late to be proposing it in September? Really?
Yeah. It's the season's already started and they've introduced a new competition. It's insanity. Like, it's just what it just doesn't make any sense. I know you seem to be looking forward to it. I'm pleased you're looking forward to it. I think it sounds crap. I think it's like you said, it's taking away your focus from promotion, because you've got this other competition to be in, and you've gone, there's only 2 go up, so we'll focus on this for a little bit of income. It's not the right solution to it, really, for making football better. The right solution would be to change the promotion and relegations. That would be the right thing to do, instead of having a daft competition with a few National League teams going up against some under 23 teams. Realistically, who's going to go watch these games? Because we've all been to like JPT whatever on earth it's called now, games, was it Checker Trade Trophy or whatever, and we've always beaten them games and been in crowds which were about a quarter of what we were used to seeing. They're not really going to even attract that many, are they, when you think about it? Cold Tuesday night, watching Rochdale's kids play against Man United's kids.
I think in terms of I think a couple of years ago in the Papa John's, I'm sure we played Bury, and that were a cracking game. What they should do is I'm not too sure on the actual structure of it in terms
this National
of,
League
is it
Cup,
localised?
yeah.
Is it localised in terms of how you're playing?
Certainly regionalised in terms of north and south. I'm not sure about beyond that.
I mean,
So
we played
as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
With their kids anyway.
I think they are. I remember when we played Bury away from home, and that was they are our rivals, and they are, well, likewise Bury and Rochdale. That were a good tasty game because you sort of had something riding on it. You did no matter what competition you're in, you do want to beat your rivals. That was one thing in that particular instance. But as you say, if it gets to places like Accrington under 21s, I'm not too sure I want to watch that. But having said that, I have watched England under 19s play at Rochdale, and I went with my granddad and I enjoyed it. So I'm not too sure where I draw the line myself in terms of, maybe because we'd never seen England under 19s, and they were like Ross Barkley were playing and somebody else, that we eventually made it, to the Premier League and became a name. But yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those. What do you think, Jim?
I mean, the first thing I read that statement when it came out, and you reminded me of, well, two things that I've got problems with, really. First off is we think that, well, I agree there should be 3 up, 3 down between the Football League and the National League. The Football League will never vote for it because there's always a problem that one club that first year is going to be turkeys voting for Christmas, won't it? But it should be the case. I don't see how that equates to, because this isn't the case, we're going to take on this random tournament against under 23 or Premier League 2 teams or whatever they're called. I'm not sure that correlates to me. That sounds like a bit of a fluffing up of a statement. We believe this, but we can't have this, so therefore this. I don't see how that matters. It doesn't mean, just because you haven't got that doesn't mean that excuses the absolute nonsense. The second point being, this has got nothing to do with the scrapping FA Cup replays. I don't for one moment believe that Rochdale wants FA Cup replays scrapped. I don't believe any club outside of, honestly, 6 clubs wanted the FA Cup replays really scrapped. Maybe a few of the Premier League clubs, hence why it got voted. But this is all about the Premier League clubs getting their PL2 sides experience against professional clubs, so that they harden them up for full professional football. Which my response would be, we have a loan system for that. Get them in dressing rooms, get them in teams where it's life or death. There's guys playing for their mortgages, playing for their families, rather than tippy-tappy on the 23s football on a carpet on a training ground, getting paid 20 grand a week to do absolutely nothing but play a few, regional Premier League 2 games or something. Like, youth football's great technically, but it doesn't prepare you, I don't think anyway, for the absolute, the hard graft of professional football. I don't think this is going to do it either, because like you say, if they were sticking their kids out in this tournament, then you're literally watching Man United under 23s against Rochdale under 23s. That's just the Youth Cup. We've got a Youth Cup where that can happen. What's the point? Look at some of the PL. Okay, I accept the PL2 isn't exactly a mirror of the Premier League in terms of the clubs, but you've got Middlesbrough's kids. Okay, Borough, a decent sized club, but they're not in the Premier League. Reading's PL2 team. Reading have barely got a first team at the moment with their ownership problems and all the shit that's going down there. Who, in their right mind, say if you're a fan of, I don't know, Eastleigh, I don't even know if they're in it, I'm just naming a southern club from, the National League. Who in their right mind is going to rock up to watch the National League club play against Reading's kids? Because half of Reading's kids are surely on the bloody bench for the first team at this rate, with the way things are going for them. And I think the last point really to make, Dale have been open enough to say it's about money. They should just have said, it's about money. That's the only thing they need to say. That's the only thing they need to say. The rest of it's fluff. Like, the fact there's not as many promotion places is utterly irrelevant. The fact that, I absolutely accept again that Dale didn't want to scrap for cup replays. But this isn't about the National League clubs. This is about the Premier League clubs worming their way into the system. And yeah, what happens if, as well, as a final point, you do put your first team out against United's under 18s? What if you lose that game?
Oh yeah, it's happened to us.
If you lose to literal children?
I'll raise another point. What if someone gets injured in that game against them 22s?
Gosh.
Well, going for the playoffs of motion, and then someone from Wolves with 23s kicks out your midfielder or something, or starts. Henderson gets. Henderson's no spring chicken, mate. He's got 40, 41 now. Still going. He's unbelievable. But what if some kid from the Black Country could kick him? And it's like, oh, and then what was the point of that? I don't. I can see from a financial perspective why a lot of clubs will be from the National League because money is so tight. Well, we just take one league, the Premier League and the Football League. I get that, but if they'd have just gone, yes, lads, fair enough. Okay, don't agree with it, fair enough. But trying to blame it on lack of the 3 up, 3 down, I think is irrelevant. And I think the cup replays thing is I get it. We all want to keep the cup replays, of course we do. It's been a shit decision made by the elite with no consultation by for anyone else. I don't think it excuses this because this all screams of when are we going to end up with under 23 or PL2 teams eventually poking their way into a non-league system properly, or our League 2. This all feels very stealthily. Yeah, you know what I mean?
If that happened, they've managed to ruin the non-league as well. If we start getting like B teams and that coming up, it was like that's it. They've ruined the football pyramid because the English football pyramid is the greatest football league system in the world because there's that many teams in it and they're all legit teams. You haven't got like little. Nah, it would ruin it. But you can see it happening, though, can't you? You can see it happening.
Yeah. Where's your pride in being a senior team? I mean, in Scotland, you've got, I think, Celtic, Rangers and Heart B take part in the... I don't think they take part, obviously, not in League 2. You've got either the East of Scotland or West of Scotland or the Highland Lowland League. Like, 5th or 6th tier in Scotland. Sure, you've got Heart, Celtic and Rangers B taking part in that. I know your colleague on the Latest Grumble knows more about that as a Hearts fan. But I just think that's so sad. That's taking away a spot from legit senior teams that could be in that position or, could get loan players from those B teams, from those underage teams. And I think that needs to be the pathway now. I know it does obviously happen, but why can't these academy kids go out and loan to a proper senior team and learn the hard way? Learn the day-to-day rigours of National League, League 2 football. And you know why it is? It's because every single bloody Premier League club now has got a loans manager who will look at the kids, look at the way they want to play their philosophy, and then try and find a club that plays the same way. And it's so artificially manufactured. It's like, fucking get them in there amongst, they're 18, get them in there amongst men. Obviously I'm not suggesting anything potentially like the way it used to be. If you listen to all of the cops back in the day, some of the shit they got put into was fucking chaos. But, put them in a professional environment rather than a bunch of under 18 kids and give them a bit of a grounding, make them realise, like I say, I remember listening to an interview with Max Power, who, my brother Matt went to school with. He was a champion, he came through a champion, he's now signed up in Denmark for a club. Made a decent career for himself, ex-Sunderland, ex-Wigan. He said he went on loan to Colin Bell, who were in the, I think, the 7th or 6th tier at the time. They moved over to the Welsh League now. He said, made me realise if I don't work hard, I don't want to end up, with great respect, I don't want to end up playing at that kind of level. I don't want to end up playing in, the 6th tier of English football or 2nd tier of Welsh football. I need to knuckle down and crack on and get my professional career. And I think there needs to be more of that kind of scare tactics. But it's a symbiotic, beneficial relationship for the big club, smaller club, and the player. Everyone gets something out of it. I don't see, apart from, and I can't imagine it's even a significant amount of money, I don't see what the National League clubs get out of this.
It's going to be one of them ones where it must cost them more to put the game on than they're going to make.
Yeah.
Surely.
I mean, the policing they might need for who? Are United fans going to turn up to the game? Possibly, but not many.
You'd still have to staff the game, pay people money, and pay the energy bill and transport and etc. etc. They still have to put the game on.
I think they've got to legally open up certain things, or else it's going to feel all very pre-season when you haven't got the cafe open and you haven't got the bar open or anything like that. And you're like, well,
Yeah.
what's the point? That is the main question: is what's the point here? What's the end game here? Because I get it from a financial point of view if the money's that lucrative, but there's better ways of doing this. There's better ways.
This is going to be one of them things where we're laughing about it in like a couple of years' time. It's like, hey, remember when they tried that National League Cup? There's no way that this ends up being a roaring success and they do this again next year.
No. No.
I can't see it, but then we've still got under 21 teams in the EFL Trophy, which has well and truly ruined that competition, by the way, because nobody cares about it until it gets to the final.
No, I used to quite like that competition as well, because again, we used to get Leeds quite a lot in that.
I went with to Leeds that night, didn't I? It was the only time I've been to Ellen Road.
Yeah, sometime. I've been to Ellen Road. We scored, it was exciting.
Oh, it was fucking amazing. Yeah. It's absolute scenes. No better way to spend a Tuesday night, but
the good old days.
It's ruined that competition, and I feel like this is another way to just ruin lower league football tournaments. I mean, you've still got the FA Trophy, you've still got the FA Vars if you go low enough, but it's just
stupid. It just feels stupid. It just feels forced, stupid, and despite it adding something rather than taking something away, it feels like it's spoiling non-league football at the same time. It feels like it's taking the piss out of the teams. A complete lack of respect that the sort of opposition them teams deserve. It's an under-23s team. It's not showing them any respect. It's like they think that's a level playing field is National League teams against under-23s.
In theory, and this may well happen, you can end up with a club that ends up playing under 23s and against the senior club of the same club in the same season. It could, for example, like Dale could end up drawing Man United in the FA Cup this year.
Yeah.
How weird is that? You end up with the under 23s or under 21s, wherever it is, PL2 squad, and then a few weeks later, a month or two later, you've got the senior team. The better option would have been, right, let's scrap the B teams out of the Football League Trophy, let's have the National League clubs in there.
Yeah, that would have been a better idea, to be fair.
But I still think in this era, when you've got Alisson Becker and Rodri moaning about too many games.
Oh, that really annoyed me.
That 38 league games a season, and then you've got Football League and National League clubs playing 46 league games a season. Plus you're adding more tournaments on top of that. These guys are getting a fraction of what the other lads are playing. And with that, it's not about the money, it's about health and safety in your body, but not just the amount of money, but also they haven't got the facilities and the recovery available to them the way that Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal have. With the greatest of respect, they'll be well looked after, I don't doubt, by medical and health professionals, but not to the same level these guys at the elite have got. The toll it's going to have on their bodies to then shove another competition in. There's already too much football as it is, so in my opinion.
Fixture backlog. The fixture backlog there's going to be, because these games are played for October, November and December on Tuesday nights, so though it's the National League, there's going to be games off. What if these stupid games get called off? Like, surely they're not going to reschedule these games. Is there a trophy at the end of this? Is there actually a trophy? Is there a final? Is there a trip to Wembley and a final if you're doing this? How does it work? Because all I've seen is the groups and thought this looks stupid.
I don't know. I presume there is a final. Whether it's at Wembley or whether it's at like St George's Park, who knows? Fucking anyway.
Here we go. I'm going to have a National League Cup format.
It's one of them. I looked at the new Champions League format. Obviously, I don't know how much you followed that, Chris. I can't imagine very well. And I thought, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And the new league format looks stupid. But the games itself, I go, some of them actually look quite interesting. I can see why they've done this. Even though you don't have Bayern Munich beating Dynamo Zagreb 9-2 to highlight the disparity in European clubs. But Yeah, I know we don't like change, but as humans and as football fans, we're quite resistant to change. But I don't see the end game for this tournament. Does the winner get a place in Europe? I doubt it. Obviously, I'm joking with that one, but
So having a look, it has quarterfinals, semi-finals, and a final. League Cup prize money. Oh, to be fair, right? It's £1 million to win. Right, that is a decent amount of money
that's decent.
for a team like Rochdale who are fan owned. Are you still fan owned?
No, we've got we got took over basically by a local millionaire, technically.
Yeah. Oh, well, you don't need that then. So a team like
I don't know. You want another
a team
million?
like Braintree Town, that £1 million,
Greedy
that's a
bastards, aren't we?
That's a decent pot of money. But here's the thing, right? What if just one of them Premier League teams wins it? They don't need that, do they?
Norwich's under 21s win it or something. I don't know. Just what? Yeah.
But I mean, like, say a team like Oldham get to the final against Man United under 21s, but Man United under 21s win, you just want to say, yeah, Oldham. You know, like, I mean, not for me because they're our rivals, but that was just they deserve something in that situation, really. But it's not, football's not that fair, is it? I guess in terms of prize money.
You know how Man United could financially help out Oldham Athletic and other clubs in the area? If they paid money back into the system for all the overspending they've done at the PSR rules, clearly as they have done, put it back into a big funding pot, then get distributed amongst the rest of the league and grassroots and non-league. As we discussed at the start of the podcast, that'd be a much better way to help out these clubs.
It would
rather
be.
than shutting up the 23s Cup in the middle of winter. I just don't even get me started on how United haven't been hit the PSR. Because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
so overspending it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a different conversation for a different time.
I can't say anything about where the final's held.
They probably haven't decided yet. They probably want to gauge who's in it and how many tickets they're going to sell. I don't know.
Do you know what? Have it at Villa Park. Just have it at Villa Park, Central.
Just somewhere in the Midlands.
Well, yeah.
I reckon it'll be at one of the grounds of one of the teams that are in it. I reckon.
Yeah.
I reckon they'll just play it at whoever finishes the best as the best record in the thing gets the home tie for the final. I reckon that's what it'll be, because you can't imagine them paying to use Wembley. You know what I mean?
No.
Even if the National League team make the final, I can't imagine you get, a decent attendance for like the FA Trophy final or the National League playoff final, but this is like, no. I can't see it getting anything like that attendance at Wembley.
Well, they've changed the trophy now, haven't they? So when we went, it was literally just a trophy game. It's now part of the non-league finals day, isn't it? So, yeah, so it's played. They play the vase and then the trophy on the same day, so you only get quarter of the ground now. So I imagine if like Wrexham or someone Wrexham did get the trophy final, didn't they?
Bromley or one of them final.
Yeah. They would have only got half quarter of the ground because they would have have it for
I think Wrexham probably took a lot more than say Newton Pagnell Town did that year. It's like but as a concept, I don't mind that. By the way, as a non-league finals day, I think
the
it makes
non-league
more
final
sense.
day is decent.
It's not a bad little idea. I wouldn't mind going down for non-league finals days in the middle of the day out and just chill out with all these random non-league fans. It'd be great. But right. Greg, I do believe. Oh, he's disappeared off again. He will come back with a quiz shortly, hopefully. But yeah, I think conclusion on the National League Cup is it's quite blatantly financially motivated. It's quite blatant what Premier League clubs are getting out of it, or the Premier League 2 clubs. I hope it only lasts a season, but we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, some people might want to hear about Jimmy, and sorry I'm bringing up a question on your own podcast, but obviously your takeover's been pretty much finalised. So how are you feeling about this?
I was anticipating this. To be honest with you, I have been that disillusioned over the last few years with the treatment of the club from Farhad Moshiri. Obviously, Bill Cameron passed away a year or two ago now. It's very sad, but Also, you can say that's very sad, with also acknowledging he should have let go of the club years ago and not still been involved when he sold the club to Mashiri. So I don't think he had the best decision making. This freaking group, I'll be excited when I see something to be excited about. I've seen that many false dawns, that much. People say, "Oh, this is really exciting. These are the guys that own Roma." Roma fans are fuming because all of a sudden their owners are going to a multi-club ownership, and with a Premier League club where the money in the Premier League's higher than that Serie A, so they're all of a sudden thinking, "Hang on a minute, and Roma's a massive club. We went to Roma friendly this season, and they brought a decent amount for what was basically a meaningless friendly." I want to see performances on the pitch. I want to see there to be intent. It doesn't matter who owns the club. If the club at the moment is going to be heading one way on the pitch, and that's what's after so many terrible decisions, both on and off the pitch, I just want to see a bit of stability. If it does mean going into the new stadium in the Championship, I've already accepted that. I've accepted that for a couple of years. We've been going down because of the financial constraints put on us, but also just horrible decisions from hiring Rafa Benitez onwards. Just horrible decisions. What was Mashiri thinking at the time? And look, he's accepted a lower offer to bring in Friedkin. If you gave me trust in Friedkin and John Textor, I'd have gone Friedkin all day. I didn't like the look of John Textor. I thought he was a bit of a madman. He was already speaking about Dyche and the club like he owned it when he didn't. So it made me wonder what kind of shit he'd get us in. Again, I'll reserve judgment on this lot. They've done an okay job at Roma. They won the Conference League, I think, in the first year they owned the club. But obviously, they've also got the balls to fire Jose Mourinho. So, I mean, they don't take any fucking prisoners. It's hard to say. Hopefully, we can go through, get far with Mashiri at the club, which has been a disaster of a tenure, taking us completely unequivocally backwards. I just want some stability. I don't expect us to be challenging for Europe or trying to win any trophies. Just get us so we're not having this existential doom of relegation and getting mocked because of new ground every year. I just want a bit of a boring 13th place finish, to be honest with you. That's all I want for, really. So again, I'll come back to me in a year's time if they've taken us over, and I can give you more of a comment. At the moment, it's positive, but I'm always one to reserve judgment on anything related until there's been enough time to really see what it's about. I don't get my hopes up with that lot. I really don't. I've been too old and grizzled now to learn that lesson.
The thing with it as well is it doesn't matter if they're wanting to help you get in the Champions League and that. It's whether the Premier League are going to let you spend the money. Because I think the last time I was on this podcast was when Newcastle had just been taken over and we were talking about that. That's hit a brick wall, hasn't it? Because I'm pretty sure the Premier League have told them if you spend any more money, we're going to throw the book at you. So they've got the money to spend, but they're not allowed to spend it. So what's the point?
That's when you have all these weird deals, like Vlachodimos going to Newcastle, and then who was the young lad, the academy graduate, Elliot Anderson, went to Forest for 30 million, and then we sold Lewis Dobbins to Villa, and then we sold Onana. Okay, that was a genuine deal. But then we got Timo Rugbarnum from Villa, and Chelsea got involved with some weird deals with Aston Villa, and everyone was basically just swapping players to circumvent PSR rules because everyone was in the shit. Meanwhile, you've got other clubs like United, like obviously Liverpool are quite financially well run, but United and City, they will just go out and slap whatever they want on a player and not get done for it. Yeah. Look, I've said so many times my thoughts on the Premier League, and the fact they only care about 6 clubs and they just want the rest of your bottom feeders and not just be glad to be there and not try too hard to win anything.
For me, what it is with the Premier League is you can do whatever the hell you want, but you better make sure you win the Champions League if you do it.
No,
that's honestly what I think it is. If you don't have a chance of winning the Champions League, you can have a points deduction and you can get all the financial fair play rules thrown at you. But if you've got a chance of winning the Champions League, they won't touch you. So that's what you have to do. You have to have a decent chance.
They can market Man City. They can market Man United. They can't market us and Forest the same way. Like they should.
Can't market Newcastle because who the bloody hell outside of Newcastle wants to support them? You know what I mean?
Well, this is it.
Huge fan base like outside of Newcastle, but they just don't care unless you're one of the glamorous clubs from London or Liverpool or Manchester. We are not one of them.
Well, it's annoying. I don't particularly like Newcastle, being from the area and being like Darlington's full of Newcastle fans. But it was exciting to see like they were on the cusp. They were on the edge of like being another team to like make the Premier League exciting. But they were told, "Nah, you're not allowed to spend any more money." And that's it. They've just completely fallen off. They didn't even get into Europe this year. That spoilt the Champions League. It was fun watching Newcastle in the Champions League last year because it was an English underdog and they played well. They've got decent players there who are fun to root for, like Almiron, who's not a necessarily talented football player, but tries hard, so he's a fun player to root for. It would have been bloody lovely to have another team pushing in the fold of pushing for the Champions League, but nah, we're just gonna have to hope to God that Villa don't start spending any money, because if they do, they'll be bloody have the door shut in their face as well. It's just crap, and that's how it feels. It's like City are gonna get away with it because they won the Champions League and they could win the Champions League again. Like they're probably the biggest product the Premier League has worldwide. I think you go over to America where the Premier League's growing and growing each year. I think they're all City fans over there, but it's because they wake up on a Saturday morning and it's on TV. There's nothing else for them to watch, so it's growing over there. If they start, the big teams, the big exciting teams to watch, and they go, no, you can't do that anymore. There's a points deduction. Screws them over. So I can see why they do it. But if we're gonna do it, then just don't do it with someone else. So it doesn't matter who takes over anyone, because they're probably not going to let you spend the money anyway. It's how it is.
It's definitely growing over there in terms of my uncle and auntie live in Seattle, so they watch a lot of our games over there on their Fox News Sports, whatever it is. But they watch like Liverpool and Man City and Arsenal. My auntie Angie, she's like, I do like Liverpool and I do like City, and she can't split between the pair of them. So there's a lot of that over there in terms of generalising who's doing better in terms of week per week, and they're not exactly watching. I don't know, let's say Fulham. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely, as you say, it's the big names.
Funnily enough, one of the guys on Barstool Sports for Chicago, he picked Nottingham Forest as his team. He's a massive Forest fan. So it's always really weird when the footy season starts and he starts talking about the Blackhawks, and then he moves on to talking about Nottingham Forest. It's just because you were getting...
Somebody else did that in the MMA world who does the... what was he called?
Ariel Helwani.
Yes.
He's been Everton fan and chose Forest randomly.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I think they liked the romance of them being a new team, didn't they? Because they're not used to the whole relegation thing, so they probably didn't really know the history of Nottingham Forest, realising that they were quite a successful Premier League team at one point, and they've gone, they've got a name of the team is the name of the city and then an item, a bit like our teams.
Brilliant.
And then it's just like, yeah, they're a new team, so we'll follow them because they're new. And I think that's why people have leaned towards Nottingham Forest. I bet there'll be a load of Ipswich fans have appeared as well, but they're all going to be bitterly disappointed when they go straight back down and they can't watch them anymore.
Just wait
should do that.
They come up, that'll blow their minds.
Yeah.
Week. I thought we were having naming teams.
We should have teams with associated with objects. That's good. I need to do that in the next episode. But like the Rochdale Spanners, there you go.
And how many have we got? There must be. So there's Forest Green, I suppose.
Kidderminster Harriers.
Kidderminster Harriers is one, yeah.
I mean, anything that's got an evil surname. We wouldn't really say Plymouth Argyle or Crewe Alexandra, would you? But they're not really objects, I guess.
That's a good point, actually.
There's going to be a few. Probably more non-league. It feels pretty non-league.
Yeah, there'll be...
What about, like, Solihull Moors?
Bedlington Terriers. That's
that
like the
good.
ultimate one, isn't it? That's like... Bedlington Terriers. Yeah, they're still going.
Tamworth Tadpoles, I'm sure that's a British hockey team.
It could be. But that's... Hockey teams over here are like that, aren't they? Like Blackburn Hawks.
Yeah, we've got Billingham Stars, and
exactly.
Billingham's also got a Pirates as well. I think he got, yeah. But no, there will be some, won't there? There'll be some proper random little...
I'm sure there's a team like London Tigers in the lower reaches of non-league as well, or something like that. Sounds like a basketball team, like, but there's gonna be... Isn't there somebody bought out, like in the 9th division, by these crypto people like Real Bedford or something? I don't know if they're going to be renamed something.
There is. That is a team that, Real something or other. But yeah, they were bought out by some.
This isn't it? That's awful.
I'm gonna have to look into that now.
But yeah, that's definitely a thing. They are one of them weird vanity projects there.
Yeah. I've got a few quiz questions if anyone's interested. I'm not too sure if you want to do a couple of quiz questions. I've got 2 that are football related, and I have a picture round which is food related. We're going to take it in turns. There's 6 answers. So this is called the Greg's quiz.
I already know what it's going to be before I've even looked at it now.
For the people listening on the podcast version, we've got 6 illustrations of a bake that Greg's that you can buy from Greg's. So it could be a corned beef bake, a chicken bake, a cheese and onion bake, a steak bake, a vegetable bake, sausage, bean and cheese melt bake. What I would like you to do, we'll take it in turns. We'll go A, B, A, B, C, D, blah blah blah. So we'll go to Jimmy first. On the right hand side, what type of bake do you think that is?
I think I've been to Greg's once in my life.
Really? Wow.
So this is a stab in the bacon dark as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to say A is a steak bake.
Right, so you think A is... Let's put number 4. So we call it A4. Right. So I've got that down for you, Jim. Okay, Chris. B. What do you think B is?
So I think I'm going to be alright with this. I think I know a few of these. I think this is the one I know. I think this is a sausage, bean and cheese melt.
Right. So, let's call that B6. So, for the people listening at home, they've got 6 illustrations and they've all got different patterns on these bakes to distinguish which ones they are. So that people at Greg's can serve the customer the correct bake, shall we call it. These are on the packets, not the packets, the paper that you get the bake on. And it's got the answers on the back, so I just thought it would be quite a funny thing to do. Okay, so Chris thinks that B is 6. That's sausage.
No, actually, I'm changing.
Yeah, no problem.
No, because I think another one's a sausage bake. I think this is a cheese and onion bake. There's only 3 pasties I buy, and this is one of them.
Interesting. We might have a winner already. Okay, so we'll go for, you think B is 3.
Yeah,
you think it's a cheese onion bake. Right, Jim. What do you think number C is? So I'll try and describe. It's like a couple of wavy lines. 6 wavy lines going across the bake. What do you think that might be?
So it's not, well, it probably is a steak bake now, but I suppose the other one was a bloody steak bake. Or I'm gonna have some fucking wild dreams tonight. This is gonna be messed up. Corned beef bake? Why not?
Corned beef bake. Okay, so you think C is number 1, corned beef bake. So we'll go back to Chris for D. So the next illustration is it's basically thin lines going across the bake. Looks like quite a few thin lines going across the bake. So what do you think D is, Chris?
So I don't have this one, so I'm just going to go with vegetable bake for this one.
So you think that's number 5, a vegetable bake? No problem. Going back to Jimmy.
I know this one for a fact. I know E. I know E for a fact. It's my favourite one.
Interesting. This is going to Jim. So E, the illustration looks like it's got loads of thin holes across the bake. There, Jim. And E, what do you think that bake is?
I'm unrelated though, Chris. What's your favourite bake from Greg's?
Well,
not to do this question, like learn from connoisseur.
Is he able to give answers he's already given?
Oof. I've not thought this far.
That's
I-
and then right, in which case then I'm gonna retract my earlier steak. If that's one. I'm gonna say he's a steak bake.
It's definitely a bake, but
It's a bake.
what do you think it is, Jim? Sorry.
I'm gonna guess steak bake. I'm guessing it's one of the, unless he's absolutely double crossed me and it's actually one of the ones I haven't guessed already. This is like carrot in a box. It's like
Welcome to Greg's quiz, where everyone gets confused with patterns.
this is one of the worst things.
Right, so you think E is a steak bake?
I guess so.
Right. Yeah. We've got one left. This is Chris. This is the final illustration of a bake. And it sort of looks like a V shape's going across from top to bottom.
Like chevrons on the motorway.
Yeah, chevron.
So
chevron
this
bake.
one, this one I think is the sausage, bean and cheese melt.
Interesting. Okay, so Chris thinks that one is the sausage, bean and cheese melt.
I'm going to say that E, and spoil the answers. E is definitely the corned beef bake.
I have the answers. So let's just find the illustration. Okay. So A is a vegetable bake. So I don't think Jimmy said. You thought that was a steak bake, didn't you, Jim?
Let's be honest. We know I've not got any right here. Let's just.
That's fine.
I don't think I've got any right. I think I've got your one right.
Chris, B is a steak bake.
It's a steak bake.
So you've put a cheese and onion bake for that one. Unfortunately, incorrect. C, going back to Jimmy, a couple of wavy lines going across the bake. C, a couple of wavy lines, is a chicken bake, but you thought it was a corned beef bake. Next one is D, which is the thin lines going across. So that was Chris. Chris thinks that one's a vegetable bake. That's actually a sausage, bean and cheese melt.
So we've all got them all wrong.
E, which is the thin lines going across. It sort of looks like a cheese grater pattern almost. That one is a corned beef bake.
So, yeah, I knew that one. That's my favourite one. It's the only one I knew.
F, chevron bake. Let's call it a chevron bake. That's the cheese and onion bake. So, unfortunately, nobody got any of those right, apart from Chris, in terms of guessing Jimmy's one correct. 0-0, but I think Chris probably wins there in terms of he did guess Jimmy's bake. There you go.
Yeah, a default win.
It's very similar. It's like if you were to go out on penalties, that's how Man United won the Champions League against Chelsea.
This is how they should decide who wins the games in the National League Cup. If it comes down to a draw, like pick your pasties.
Pick your pasties. Pasty of poison. Pasty of poison.
Because it's a pasty, isn't it? It's not a bake. Oh yeah, man, it's a pasty.
It's a pasty. It is.
I'm absolutely shocked that a northern company would ever call them a bake, and it's definitely a pasty.
It's unusual. Yeah. So that's the end of the Greg's quiz. Unfortunately, nobody got any of those right. I do have a football question.
And to clarify, other fast food outlets are available.
Yes, you don't need to go to Greg's to buy a pasty or a bake.
Yeah, man, no free adverts.
No free adverts.
Actually, we've not been much advertising for them. We didn't get any fucking questions right.
I do.
They also suck. Since they're not paying, I'm just going to go out there and say Greg sucks.
the bake company, that is, not me. So I've got 2 football questions, and then we can look at wrapping up if you wish, gents. It's up to you. So one of the traditional questions that we have on the podcast is a fives question. So essentially, it's the question could be who's the top 5 goal scorers in the history of the Premier League, and if you were to get the first one correct, which is Alan Shearer, you would get 1 point. But the more obscure that you go in the 5, the more points you gain. So if you get the 5th one, you would get 5 points. So we're looking for the most obscure correct answer to the question, isn't it, Jim? Really?
Yeah.
So I think Chris, you know what I'm on about, don't you, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay. So the question is, in the history of the Premier League, which 5 teams, you can only pick one, has the most draws.
So I'm going to pick one straight away.
Okay, Chris.
Because they actually got... So it's going to be like the teams which have been in there the longest. So the Premier League, not the top flight. So I'm going to pick someone who's been in there a while but isn't particularly good.
So if you get the second one, you get 2 points. 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5.
So I'm going to go with Tottenham Hotspur for my first guess.
Interesting choice.
Spurs would have been my shout as well, because they're a Premier League ever presence, but also
Never win anything.
not good enough to win loads of games, but also not crap enough to lose loads, because I know Everton have lost loads. Part of me wants to say Everton, but I think we've lost too many games. So, and I don't think any of the teams that regularly win games will be particularly high scorers, or even in the 5 maybe. You know, your Uniteds, your Liverpools, your Arsenals. So I'm going to go on a punt. I always go on a punt and get this wrong. I'm going to go with West Ham, because I know they've been in quite a lot of seasons and they usually finish middling.
Interesting. Okay, I've got the answers. The team with the most draws in the history of the Premier League is Everton. So you would have got 1 point for Everton.
I would have got 1 point for that, fair enough.
Aston Villa are second with 311 draws, so you would have got 2 points for Aston Villa. Third is Newcastle United with 284 draws. 4 is West Ham United. So Jimmy's got 4 points with West Ham United. They've got 270 draws. And fifth was, I was quite shocked by number 5, is Manchester City. 222 draws in the history of the Premier League.
Well, it's quite shocking because they weren't really in it that much, were they?
So they've drew a hell of a lot.
But
Drew a hell of a lot.
I suppose there was that period from 2003 to 2008 where they were just kind of there. They didn't go down, but they didn't do anything great.
Yeah. So Jimmy's won that round. I've got one more question, and I'm not too sure if it's a really obvious one, but I'll go with it anyway. Can you name the top 5 players in the history of the Premier League with the most assists? So it's the same, applies again. You can be the obvious choice and get 1 point. 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5.
The most assists.
The most assists in the history of the Premier League. The players, individual players, obviously.
Right. I'm going to go on a punt. I'm going to go Gary Speed.
I'm trying to think of... This is where my knowledge of the Premier League doesn't help us at all. Bloody Ryan Giggs or something. He's got to be... I didn't want to mention him. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to mention him.
No.
But I have. Because you were there for ages, weren't he? And, yeah.
You going for Giggs, Chris?
Yeah.
No problem. Okie dokie. Top 5 assists in the history of the Premier League. Number 1 is Ryan Giggs. 163 assists. So, Chris, you've got 1 point. Number 2 is Kevin De Bruyne. 111 assists.
Yeah, he's already there.
Number 3 is Cesc Fabregas. 108 assists. Number 4 is Frank Lampard with 102 assists. And number 5 is Wayne Rooney with 100 assists. So Chris has won that round. So we're level. We're all with one each. We're one each. I haven't got any more questions, so maybe Chris wins because he got the pasty round correct there.
Yeah, man. You need to learn.
How's that?
You need to learn what corned beef bake, man.
Yeah. Let's let the guest win. I think that's fair, Jim.
The next question will be top 5 players by Greg's consumption in their career, and it's like
Wayne Rooney.
Yeah. Dean Windass, number 1.
Dean Windass.
Probably John Parkins. He's probably had a few. He's had a few pasties in his time.
What a great man. What a great man.
Big John.
So, we'll look at wrapping up this episode shortly, gents, if you want. There's a few full-time results are coming in. Rochdale have won 3-0 against Hartlepool. 3-0 away.
Oh, lovely.
So that's a decent result for us. League Cup, Chelsea have beaten Barrow 5-0, full-time result there. Man City have beat Watford 2-1 full-time. It's gone to penalties with Walsall and Leicester City, 0-0 currently.
Tell you what, that's a good bloody game for Walsall, that, isn't it? That's a nice local derby.
Yes, yeah.
Took them to penalties. Well done.
Over to you, Jim.
Indeed. Well, Chris, any shout-outs you want to have, where we can find you, your podcast, anything on socials, or before we leave?
Yes, so just I have a few podcasts, but I'll just name the one people might be interested in. So the 90s Grumble is a podcast to do with my co-host Neil. It's part of our Grumbleverse podcast series, in which we've currently got 2. There's the 90s Grumble, and then there's also the UK Cubs Grumble. That'll soon be stopping because the season's over, but we'll be recording the next episode of the 90s Grumble next week, which will be on 90s Wrestling. We don't usually like to spoil the episodes, but we kind of drop a hint on our Facebook page, and it was a pretty obvious one.
Yep.
So yeah, if you're into the 90s, we have a few episodes already up. There's Noel's House Party, there's Jurassic Park. We did an episode with you guys on Euro 96, which was great and the longest podcast we've ever done. We also had Newsagent's Tat, and then we did one on school trips. So if you like reminiscing on how the 90s had no health and safety or full of tat, give it a listen. It's yeah. Thanks for having me, guys.
Fantastic. Cheers for joining us, Chris. Thank you.
Absolutely. And just remember, whether your team is going all out for glory in the National League Cup this season, or you're going to get hit by PSR again, just remember, it's only a game. Thanks, everyone. Bye now.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Fantastic.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.